we bring you sorrowful and shocking news. Two-time Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were discovered deceased on Wednesday. Hollywood has lost an irreplaceable legend. Gene Hackman, a commanding performer whose on-screen presence was utterly captivating, has passed away at the age of 95. From the unyielding grit of The French Connection to the cunning allure of Lex Luthor and Superman, his career stretched across decades, leaving an indelible imprint on the world of film. Admirers recognized him as a virtuoso of his art, an actor capable of dominating any scene with merely a look. Yet, as heartfelt tributes flood in, disturbing details about his death have emerged. Details that provoke more uncertainties than resolutions. Police arrived at his Santa Fe residence to encounter a situation far from typical. His wife, Betsy, and one of their dogs were also found lifeless under strange and perplexing conditions, with no evident signs of forced entry or an obvious reason for their deaths. Could this have been a devastating mishap, or does a deeper narrative lurk beneath the surface? Tonight we reflect on Hackman's extraordinary career while grappling with the eerie enigma now clouding his final hours. Gene Hackman's path to Hollywood stardom started far from the dazzling lights and allure of the movie industry. Born in 1930 in San Bernardino, California, and brought up in Illinois, his youth was defined by a relentless urge to forge his own destiny. At the tender age of 16, he joined the Marine Corps, an endeavor that ingrained in him the discipline and toughness that would later shape his acting prowess. Following his military tenure, he felt a pull towards storytelling and enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he refined his skills. Success, however, was not immediate. He toiled for years, accepting minor parts, barely getting by, and enduring relentless rejection. Many skeptics questioned his prospects, deeming him too plain, too unorthodox. Nevertheless, Hackman's resolve remained unshaken. Then, in 1967, Bonnie and Clyde arrived, a pivotal turning point. Portraying Buck Barrow, he struck a flawless blend of charisma and unpredictability, delivering a performance that seized Hollywood's focus. Abruptly, the industry paid attention. This was the breakthrough he had relentlessly pursued, and from that instant, Gene Hackman became a name synonymous with excellence. The 1970s solidified his status among Hollywood's finest. In 1971, The French Connection premiered, and Hackman's depiction of Detective Popeye Doyle was electrifying. Raw, fierce, and wholly gripping, it secured him his first Academy Award for Best Actor. He had truly made his mark, yet Hackman refused to be pigeonholed. Just a few years later, he astonished viewers once more in The Conversation, 1974, a subdued intellectual thriller helmed by Francis Ford Coppola. As a surveillance specialist consumed by paranoia, Hackman offered one of the most chilling performances of his career. Then, in 1978, Superman showcased his reinvention of the comic book antagonist, infusing Lex Luthor with biting wit and a menacing charm. Whether embodying a rugged detective, a tormented recluse, or a sinister genius, he owned the screen in a manner few could replicate. The 1980s and 90s bore witness to his remarkable range. He transitioned seamlessly between stern, uncompromising authority figures and richly nuanced, emotionally layered roles. In Hoosiers, 1986, he portrayed a faltering basketball coach striving for redemption, transforming a potentially routine sports movie into a profoundly touching tale. Then, in Mississippi Burning, 1988, he confronted one of America's bleakest historical episodes, delivering a commanding performance that rattled audiences. As the 90s unfolded, Hackman continued to demonstrate why he ranked among the era's greatest talents. In 1992, Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven cast him in one of his most menacing roles, the ruthless Sheriff Little Bill Daggett. It was a portrayal so visceral, so multifaceted, that it earned him his second Academy Award, this time for Best Supporting Actor. Soon after, he paired with Denzel Washington in Crimson Tide, 1995, igniting an on-screen clash that sizzled with intensity. Then came Enemy of the State, or 1998, where he played a retired intelligence operative alongside Will Smith, merging action, intrigue, and his trademark gravitas. By the early 2000s, Hackman had little left to prove. He had gifted the world decades of unforgettable portrayals. Even legends, however, recognize when to retreat. In 2001, he delivered a standout role in The Royal Tenenbaums, embodying the quirky, deeply flawed head of a chaotic family, a part that perfectly highlighted his knack for blending humor with pathos. Then, in 2004, he appeared on screen for the last time in Welcome to Mooseport, a breezy comedy that, though not his most lauded effort, served as a suitable goodbye for an actor who had accomplished everything, and then he stepped away. In a bold move rare for a Hollywood icon, Hackman retired from acting entirely. No grand send-off, no gradual exit. He simply departed. He settled into a tranquil existence in New Mexico, devoting himself to writing novels and avoiding the public eye. Though fans yearned for one final encore, he never reconsidered. His legacy was already etched, preserved in the movies that influenced generations of cinephiles. For decades, Gene Hackman stood as a singular force, an actor who could vanish into any character and infuse every scene with unmatched authenticity. He wasn't merely a film star, he was a narrative artist, a meticulous craftsman, a legend. Even absent from the screen, his work continues to motivate. Yet now, with his passing, the world doesn't just grieve a titan. We're confronted with troubling questions about his last days. The specifics are odd, the circumstances baffling, and as further details surface, the mystery only intensifies. The announcement of Gene Hackman's death initially seemed unremarkable. An aging Hollywood giant who had lived a long, accomplished life had quietly passed on. But as particulars began to emerge, the tale veered into dark, unsettling territory. It wasn't solely Gene who had perished. His wife Betsy and one of their dogs were also discovered dead within their Santa Fe home. Instantly, the story shifted from a serene departure to something far more cryptic. Conjecture spread rapidly. Was this a grievous accident, a health crisis, or something more ominous? Authorities reached the house to find a haunting tableau, one that posed more riddles than solutions. Betsy Hackman was located in the bathroom, sprawled near the counter. A space heater lay toppled beside her, and prescription pills were strewn across the floor. Had she stumbled? Had she grabbed for something and been struck by the heater? The truth remained elusive. More troubling still, her body bore signs of decay, indicating she had lain there for some time before discovery. Gene was found in another room, fully dressed, his sunglasses resting beside him. There were no apparent wounds, no clear indications of distress, yet his posture suggested he had collapsed abruptly. Did a medical emergency overtake him? Did he attempt to reach his wife but fall short? Then there was the dog, a German Shepherd found lifeless in the bathroom closet, while two other dogs wandered the house, apparently unscathed. What had killed it? Was its demise tied to whatever claimed Gene and Betsy, or had it succumbed to an unrelated fate? Investigators observed another eerie detail. The front door stood ajar. There were no traces of forced entry, no broken windows, no damaged locks. But why was it open? Had someone come in or had someone exited? With so many peculiar factors at play, hypotheses multiplied. One early theory, carbon monoxide poisoning, was quickly dismissed. Fire officials performed thorough checks, but no evidence of a leak existed in the residence. If not gas, then what could explain this? A medical catastrophe, perhaps? A tragic chain of events where one suffered a sudden ailment and the other fell in response. Gene was 95. His wife, though younger at 64, was also aging. Might he have seen Betsy's mishap and in a frantic moment suffered a heart attack or stroke? Another possibility pointed to an unintended overdose. The scattered pills sparked suspicion. Had Betsy consumed too much medication? Had the dog ingested something poisonous? Had Gene unknowingly taken something too? Toxicology tests were commissioned, but results were still pending. Then came the most chilling prospect. Could foul play be involved? The unlocked door, the odd arrangement of the bodies, and the dog's unexplained death prompted some to wonder if another person had been present. No signs of a fight were detected, but could something more sinister have transpired? Was there an unseen visitor who left no evidence? Officials, while noting the scene's strangeness, insisted there were no overt signs of foul play. Still, as investigators moved forward cautiously, the public remained skeptical. How could a cherished icon and his wife perish under such bizarre conditions? Official autopsy findings were yet to come, and toxicology outcomes might take weeks. For now, the enigma only grew. What truly occurred in that home? Was this merely a sorrowful accident, a cascade of health misfortunes, or did an invisible hand shape Gene Hackman's final moments? Presently, questions outnumber answers. But as we await clarity, one truth endures. Hollywood has lost a luminary, and his last days linger in disquieting shadow. The revelation of Gene Hackman's death sent ripples through Hollywood and beyond. Accolades poured forth from actors, filmmakers, and fans who had long revered his immense talent, his devotion to his craft, and the enduring mark he left on cinema. Francis Ford Coppola, who collaborated with Hackman on The Conversation, mused on his genius, labeling him a true maestro of his trade, a performer of unparalleled depth and intricacy. Viola Davis praised his capacity to convey raw feeling in every role, noting he could be ferocious, he could be tender, he was among the elite. Antonio Banderas offered a poignant tribute, lamenting the loss of a legend who molded generations of performers. George Clooney hailed Hackman as a colossus on screen, a man who could become anyone and make you trust every second. And Josh Brolin, rocked by the news, simply declared, "I'm shattered. He was always a favorite. There'll never be another like him." It wasn't only industry figures honoring him. Fans worldwide flocked to social media to voice their esteem for Hackman's artistry. His ability to dominate the frame, to wholly inhabit a character, made him one of the most admired actors of his era. From his Oscar-winning turns in The French Connection and Unforgiven to his memorable stint as Lex Luthor in Superman, he bequeathed a body of work that will be analyzed and cherished for ages. What set Hackman apart wasn't just his skill, it was his intentional choice to exit Hollywood on his own terms. Unlike many stars who wrestle with retirement, Hackman opted to abandon the field at his peak. After Welcome to Mooseport in 2004, he never acted again. No surprise appearances, no grasps for attention. He embraced a subdued life, spending his later years penning novels and savoring privacy in New Mexico. For years, admirers longed for one last role to lure him back to the screen, but Hackman had already given so much and was satisfied to let his film speak for him. In an industry that often demands ceaseless reinvention and constant exposure, his total withdrawal was nearly unprecedented. That choice, like his performances, distinguished him. Hackman never chased fame. He pursued compelling tales, and now, even gone, those tales endure. His performances remain ageless, his influence boundless. As the industry mourns, one fact shines clear. Gene Hackman was more than an actor. He was a phenomenon, a narrator who could animate any figure with effortless truth. His legacy lies not just in his films, but in the artists he inspired and the viewers he enthralled. Though his departure stings, his work ensures he'll never truly vanish. His portrayals, his commitment, his impact, they persist as potent as ever. For that, cinema will always be thankful. For an actor as acclaimed as Gene Hackman, his 2004 decision to abandon Hollywood was as startling as it was absolute. At a time when he remained highly sought after with studios clamoring to cast him, he simply walked away. No lavish goodbye, no big declaration, he was finished. Unlike countless peers who retire only to return for one more project, Hackman never wavered. But why? For him, acting was never about celebrity, it was about the art, the story. After decades of demanding roles and tireless effort, he craved something new. He redirected his creativity to writing, channeling his energy into novels rather than screenplays. He embraced a serene existence, something few Hollywood icons ever attain. He withdrew to Santa Fe, New Mexico, far from the flash and clamor that had trailed him for years. In that expansive open terrain, he found solace. No premieres, no media scrums, just a life shaped by his own desires. He filled his days writing, cycling, and relishing the quiet joys Hollywood never offered. Despite his reclusiveness, those close to him said he stayed sharp, engaged with the world even as he grew older. Though time took its toll, he remained alert, still reading, still writing, still pondering life deeply. Public sightings, though, those dwindled to almost nothing. He was seldom spotted, and when he was, it was fleeting. A fan's quick snapshot, a glimpse at a local store. He had fully excised himself from the industry that once defined him, a feat few of his stature achieve. Yet for Hackman, there was no yearning for past acclaim, no urge to revisit glory. He had delivered his finest work, and that sufficed. In the years before his death, rumors swirled about his well-being. Some claimed he was frail, others maintained he thrived. Truthfully, few knew. Hackman had crafted a life where his privacy was honored, a rare triumph for someone of his renown. Now, with his passing, his existence remains as enigmatic as ever. He was a man who lived by his rules, vanished when he chose, and left a legacy that won't fade. Even in death, Gene Hackman stays a puzzle, an actor who gave everything on screen but kept himself veiled. The uncertainties shrouding Gene Hackman's death persist, unnerving us still. Despite official statements suggesting no foul play, some details defy explanation. Why were all three, Hackman, his wife Betsy, and their dog, found in separate parts of the house? If this was just a medical mishap or accident, how did they end up apart? Then there's the open front door. No evidence of break-in, no hints of a scuffle, yet it stood ajar. Was it left so by someone inside, frantic for aid, or had another been there, departing undetected? And the timeline, authorities estimated the bodies lay undiscovered for up to 2 weeks. How did no one notice? No relatives, neighbors, or friends checking in. A figure of Hackman standing, even retired, would have contacts reaching out. So why the delay in realizing something was amiss? Toxicology reports might illuminate the truth. Were drugs involved? Did Betsy face a health crisis that caused her fall? Was Gene's death sparked by shock, strain, or something darker? Until those findings arrive, speculation will linger. Yet despite the sorrow of his final moments, Gene Hackman's legacy stands undimmed. He was among the most talented actors ever, a performer who brought fierce intensity and richness to every part. From the dogged resolve of Popeye Doyle in The French Connection to the subtle threat of Sheriff Little Bill in Unforgiven, Hackman gave us some of cinema's most lasting performances. And who could overlook his Lex Luthor in Superman, a role that might have been cartoonish, yet in his hands turned both charming and perilous. His versatility was peerless. He could be a hero, a villain, a soul-wrestling inner turmoil, or an ordinary man navigating his world. Whatever the character, he claimed it wholly. Even after leaving Hollywood, his influence never waned. His films still ignite new waves of actors, directors, and film enthusiasts. While his last days brim with mystery, his life's work shines clear. So as we bid farewell to this giant, let's not dwell only on his exit, but on all he bestowed. Rewatch The French Connection, rediscover The Conversation, see Unforgiven anew. His performances endure, and through them, he does too. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. You were truly unmatched.